There are legends that rumble like thunder, stories that stretch their wings across the sky, whispers that say, when lightning strikes and storms roar, it is not only nature's fury, it is the flight of the Thunderbird, a being of power, a guardian, a destroyer, one of the greatest spirits of the Native American world. Before we take flight into this legend, remember, subscribe to Voices of the Earth, like this video, and ring the bell, so you never miss the voices that rise from the past. Now, let us journey into the storm. The Thunderbird is one of the most widespread and powerful figures in Native American mythology. For the Lakota, it was a great protector. For the Ojibwe, it was a spirit of justice. For the Menominee, it guarded the world from evil. For the Kwakwaka'wakw, it was honored in sacred dances and masks. Everywhere its wings spread, it commanded both fear and reverence. The Thunderbird is not only a bird, it is a force, a being larger than imagination. When its wings beat, the sound became thunder. When it blinked, lightning split the sky. When it cried out, storms fell upon the earth. To the people of the North, the Thunderbird was both blessing and curse, bringer of rain that nourished the land, bringer of storms that destroyed villages. Its power was the balance of life itself. Legends say the Thunderbird lived beyond the mountains, in a place where humans could never reach. It soared above the highest peaks. It descended with storms. It struck down monsters that threatened the people. Some say it fought against the underwater spirits, dark beings who dwelled in lakes and rivers, rising to spread chaos. The Thunderbird's lightning was the only weapon strong enough to defeat them. And so, the people prayed to the Thunderbird. They honored it. They feared it. Because when the storm clouds gathered, it was never just the weather. It was the Thunderbird, crossing the skies once more. The Thunderbird is not a creature of flesh and bone. It is a creature of scale, so vast, so powerful, that human eyes can barely contain it. The Lakota say its wingspan was so wide that when it flew across the sky, the sun itself disappeared. The Ojibwe say its feathers shimmered like storm clouds, dark and shifting, glowing with flashes of lightning from within. Its eyes were fire. Its claws were stronger than iron. Its cry shook the mountains. No human could stand before it and not tremble. The people believed that the Thunderbird's power shaped the very storms of the world. When it flapped its wings, the sky cracked with thunder. When it blinked its fiery eyes, bolts of lightning fell to the earth. When it beat its chest and screamed, hurricanes tore across the land. Every storm was not only weather, it was the breath of the Thunderbird. Different nations saw it in different forms. To some, it was a bird larger than the eagle, with feathers black as night. To others, it had the head of a horned beast, crowned with antlers or horns like a warrior's helm. Some painted it with teeth, others with a beak that could pierce the strongest prey. But in every vision, it was always colossal, always terrifying, always divine. The Thunderbird was not only storm, it was judgment. When the people respected balance, the Thunderbird brought rain for their crops. When they disrespected the land, it unleashed floods and destruction. It punished monsters, but it punished humans too. The Thunderbird was not good. It was not evil. It was balance, the raw force of nature given wings. To see the Thunderbird was to see beyond the human world. It was to witness the raw truth of existence, that life is fragile, that nature is greater, that storms come not only to destroy, but to renew. The Thunderbird was more than legend. It was the shape of the sacred, the form of the untouchable, the spirit that made the skies alive. Legends are not born in silence. They are born in stories. And the Thunderbird lives in stories that echo like thunder across generations. Among the Lakota, the Thunderbird was not just a bird, it was a warrior of the skies. They tell of Unkthi, the water monsters, who rose from rivers and lakes to devour people and bring chaos. The Thunderbird descended with storms to strike them down. Its lightning pierced the waters. Its thunder drove the beasts back to the depths. Without the Thunderbird, the Lakota say, the world would have drowned beneath the monsters of the deep. For the Ojibwe, the Thunderbird was a spirit of law. They believed it punished those who broke taboos, those who were greedy, those who disrespected the earth. In spring, the Thunderbird returned to drive away evil spirits that haunted the land during winter. Its storms were not random. They were cleansing. To hear thunder was to hear justice. On the Pacific Northwest coast, the Kwakwaka'wakw honored the Thunderbird in their sacred ceremonies. They carved great masks with beaks and wings, painted in colors of fire and storm. They danced as Thunderbirds, moving like storms across the longhouses, their drums rolling like thunder. These were not performances. They were invocations. The Thunderbird was present in the dance, watching, listening, measuring the people's respect. The Menominee believed the Thunderbird lived on the highest peaks of the world. From there it watched over humankind. It protected them from great serpents, from forces that sought to harm them. It sent rain for their crops. It sent storms to destroy their enemies. But it demanded respect. To anger the Thunderbird was to call down storms that could wipe out entire villages. Beyond the ceremonies and sacred stories, there were whispers from hunters. Men who swore they saw wings the size of canoes cross the moon. Men who claimed a Thunderbird carried off a full-grown deer in its claws. Men who never returned from the mountains, their families whispering that they had been taken by the Thunderbird itself. Some said they found feathers longer than their arms. Others spoke of shadows that blotted out the sun. Were these only tales of imagination, or encounters with something real? In every nation, one truth remained the same. The Thunderbird was not a creature to be hunted. It was not an animal to be captured. It was a power to be respected. It lived in the sky, and the sky belonged to it. The people lived below, and they were only guests in its world. Legends do not stay only in stories. Sometimes they cross into history, and the Thunderbird left shadows in the records of men. When European explorers first arrived in the lands of the Great Lakes and the Plains, they heard the stories of the Thunderbird from the people. They wrote of giant birds that ruled the storms, of creatures so vast that their wings shook the earth. At first, they dismissed them as superstition, but as years passed, some explorers began to whisper of strange things they saw in the sky. Shadows too large to belong to any known bird. Feathers found on mountaintops, carried as sacred relics by the people. The Thunderbird was no longer just myth. It was a question. By the 19th century, the Thunderbird had escaped the campfire and entered the press. American newspapers began printing stories of birds too large to be real. In 1890, one Arizona paper claimed that ranchers shot a winged creature resembling a pterodactyl, its body stretching over 16 feet. Other reports told of children carried away by enormous birds, of skeletons of sky monsters unearthed in the plains, of farmers swearing that storms followed a bird they could barely describe. Most stories were exaggerated or entirely invented, but they kept the Thunderbird alive, not only as legend, but as possible truth. Some scholars believe the Thunderbird legend may have roots in memory. Long ago, the skies of North America were ruled by real giants. The Territornis, a bird with a wingspan of 12 feet, once soared over these lands. Fossils of pterosaurs, creatures of prehistoric skies, are still found in cliffs and deserts. 4 ancient peoples, finding the bones of such creatures may have been proof. The Thunderbird was real. It had lived. It might still live. In every age, humans have told stories of things greater than themselves. But the Thunderbird walks a unique line. It is myth, sacred and spiritual. It is history, written in reports and fossils. It is folklore, carried in the newspapers of a restless nation. No matter where it appears, one truth remains. The Thunderbird is not forgotten. It is remembered. It is feared. It is revered. The 19th century closed, and the 20th century began. Still, people whispered. Still, people looked to the skies when storms gathered. Because when thunder rolled across the horizon, they asked themselves, was it only weather? Or was it the beating of wings too vast to see? The Thunderbird never left. It only changed its wings. From sacred stories told in lodges, to books, newspapers, and finally to the glowing screens of our own age, the Thunderbird lives in the modern imagination. In comics, the Thunderbird has been reborn as a hero and a monster. Marvel's Thunderbird, a Native American mutant warrior, carried the name as a symbol of strength. Sports teams use the Thunderbird as their emblem, invoking power, dominance, and the unstoppable force of the storm. From high school mascots to professional teams, its wings spread across stadiums. Artists continue to carve and paint its image, wings outstretched, lightning in its eyes, keeping alive a tradition centuries old. Movies and documentaries have reimagined the Thunderbird in many forms, sometimes as a colossal bird like an eagle of impossible size, other times as a monster that bridges myth with cryptozoology. In fantasy stories, it is both protector and terror. In J.K. Rowling's Fantastic Beasts, the Thunderbird appears as a majestic magical creature from America, proof of how deep the legend has penetrated global culture. But even when softened for fiction, its core remains. It is always vast. It is always powerful. It always controls the storm. Not everyone believes the Thunderbird is only myth. In cryptozoology circles, it is one of the great mysteries still debated. Could it be a surviving species of giant bird? A descendant of the Territornis? Or even, impossibly, a relic of the age of pterosaurs? Witnesses still claim sightings. Farmers in rural America whisper of shadows gliding silently across the sky. Hikers in remote valleys speak of wingspans too large for any known bird. Hunters tell of hearing thunder on clear days, followed by glimpses of something vast above. None of these reports have ever been proven, but they persist. And where stories persist, legends breathe. The Thunderbird is more than a creature of myth. It has become an archetype. It is the storm made flesh. It is power without limit. It is the reminder that nature is vast, and humanity is small. That is why the Thunderbird remains in our culture. Because every time thunder rolls, every time lightning strikes, we remember the stories. We remember the wings. And somewhere deep inside we wonder, is it only the storm? Or is it the Thunderbird, still soaring? The Thunderbird is not only a legend. It is a mirror of storms, a mirror of power, a mirror of the fragile line between humans and the forces that rule the world. We have traced its origins among the Lakota, the Ojibwe, the Menominee, and the Kwakwaka'wakw. We have seen its form: wings that bring thunder, eyes that release lightning, storms born from its breath. We have listened to stories of battles with water monsters, of ceremonies that honored it, of hunters who feared its shadow. We have seen its presence in history, from the journals of explorers to the bold headlines of 19th-century newspapers, from fossils of giant birds to whispers of something that still soars. We have followed it into the modern age, into comics and films, into cryptozoology and eyewitness reports, into the imagination of the world. The Thunderbird is not simply a creature. It is balance. When respected, it brings rain to feed the earth. When angered, it unleashes floods and destruction. It is the spirit of storm, the reminder that nature is greater than us, always. And perhaps it still flies, not in the skies above us, but in the storms of our lives. The final reflection. The next time thunder rolls across the horizon, listen closely. Is it only the weather? Or is it the wings of something greater? Perhaps the Thunderbird still soars. Perhaps it always will. Because legends do not die. They wait. In the clouds. In the storms. In the imagination of all who dare to look up. Thank you for flying with us through this storm of legend. Before you leave, remember to like this video to keep the stories alive. Comment below. Do you believe the Thunderbird is real, or only a myth? Subscribe to Voices of the Earth for more legends, mysteries, and truths hidden in the voices of the past. Here, the voices never fade. They become thunder.